I'm Joe Bates. I'm the Artistic Director of Filthy Lucre. We're thrilled to be presenting two works by Australian composer Liza Lim at our concert, Hurricane Bells. It's on the 4th of February at Rich Mix in Hackney, and tickets and details are in the description. I wanted to make a short video essay on Lim's work to introduce it to those who may not be familiar with it. Her works present a dense, layered sound world based on fascinating ways of thinking about musical noise. Much of her work involves extended techniques, in which players use familiar instruments in unfamiliar ways. We'll be presenting two works. The first is Invisibility for retuned solo cello. The cellist makes use of a guiro bow, in which the hair of the bow is wrapped around the wood. As it moves over the string, the change in material creates new and unstable sounds. The second piece is Awas Journeying for trumpet and percussion. The trumpeter uses split tones in which multiple unstable pitches are created at the same time. The percussionist plays an extended vibraphone in which additional instruments allow access to pitches outside the normal tuning. For example, a bottle filled with water is played. When it's moved, the water sloshes about, creating a pitch bend. Lim describes her music as being interested in something she calls presencing, the moments when invisible forces suddenly spill into an embodied visibility. This results in music that is often densely layered, but unlike the conventional musical polyphony you might imagine, some of these layers are almost invisible. I think of the layers of the music as being permeable and translucent like ocean currents, rather than opaque and solid like earthen sedimentation. In this video, I'm going to be picking apart some of the layers of sound you'll be hearing in Lim's work at Filthy Lucre. Much of her work involves a kind of an epistemological approach to music making. Lim will look at the way that a culture thinks about art or knowledge and apply that to fresh materials. Writer Tim Rutherford-Johnson describes it like this. The pattern of another cultural object, such as Yunupiŋu painting, may be approached and understood through its underlying pattern, which can then be resolved and given new expression within the vocabulary of the Western concert hall, without resorting to an Orientalist appropriation of mere surface features. It's a kind of abstract, modernist way of thinking about these ideas. The two works we'll be presenting consider two different ideas. The first is Invisibility for solo cello. In this piece, Lim explores the idea of shimmer, which is central to much Indigenous Australian art. To quote the composer, "Shimmer is an indicator of the presence of spiritual reality. The aesthetic quality of shimmer, whether found on a canvas painting, a body painting, or the beating of clapsticks, is associated with the creative transformation of matter and a tangible connection to ancestral time. In Aboriginal visual arts, iridescence, optical effects, think of Bridget Riley's op art effects, and shiny, bright hues are valued for their suggestion of power, and in that suggestion also provide a veil against the full force of that power. The shimmer both reveals and conceals. At the same time, these effects are also often ritually obscured, veiled, or made dull in order to further protect onlookers from those same forces." Tim Rutherford-Johnson has written about how these ideas surface in Invisibility. I'll be drawing on his work in this portion of the video essay. In the programme notes for the work, Lim notes how the guiro bow evokes shimmer. Like the crosshatch designs or dotting effects of Aboriginal art, the bow creates a highly mobile sonic surface through which one can hear the outlines of other kinds of movements and shapes. Rutherford-Johnson notes how the visual aspect of the piece contributes as the textured bow moves across our field of vision. Throughout the piece, the actions of the cellist and the sound we hear are connected in a complex, non-straightforward way. The guiro bow disrupts the sound unpredictably, the sparkling noisiness belying the regular back and forth of the bow. The player often touches the strings very lightly, causing the sound to flicker between harmonics. This creates a movement between high notes, low notes, and noise, all on the same string. Listen to this moment. The layers of noise flick in and out of focus, which to me recalls Lim's desire to create moments in which invisible forces suddenly become apparent. This instability evokes the aesthetic of hiddenness and ritual obscurity that Lim describes. Simple ideas are transformed into something unknowable. Listen to these 4 passages. Each is built from similar material, but is transformed every time by the piece's shimmer. The cellist has an insight into this that the audience cannot discern. In this piece, each string is differently tuned. Some are very tight, some are very loose. This creates what Lim calls planes of tension. As such, the performer feels something very different, moving between each string, feeling the tension beneath their fingers. But this is only revealed to the audience in a secondary way, through sound. Rutherford Johnson emphasises how this physical aspect means that Lim's notation contains something secret that can only be accessed through doing. He describes the piece as a ritual that is prepared by the cellist and composer and realised live in front of an audience. In our second piece, Awas Journeying, we again hear Lim's layered approach to sound. The piece's title is taken from a Viking rune. The programme notes comment that as a symbol it is associated with communion, trance, shamanic energies and ecstatic searching. Its more literal meaning is associated with a horse and rider. Lim says that this reminded her of the process of trying to bind the 2 disparate aspects of this duo, trumpet and percussion. We can hear this attempt to unify the sounds of these 2 instruments by considering the ways that they're extended beyond their normal use. Both instruments journey outside their normal sound and reach a kind of ecstatic communion with the other instrument, the trumpet reaching towards the vibraphone's percussive chords, and the vibraphone echoing the trumpet's pitch fluidity. There's something deeply material about this communion, the breath and brass of the trumpet trying to merge with the wood and water of the extended vibraphone. The trumpeter makes great use of split tone. This allows them to play more than 1 note at once, something that's always possible on the vibraphone, but that's really challenging on a trumpet. However, these split tones are deeply unstable, flickering between multiple notes and noise, much as the cellist's multiphonics do in Invisibility. Writer Paul Griffiths links this sound back to the Viking runic material, identifying a long suspended inner war horn, in gestures to which the mistuned fifths give a shadow of fanfare. You can hear the split notes and the ghost of the war horn in this clip. As in Invisibility, we can often hear multiple layers of sound in the trumpet playing. In this passage, we hear a low fundamental with a split tone on top, accompanied by a percussive slapping of the tongue, which again evokes the vibraphone's timbres. The resonance of the trumpet is damped and warped, with mutes or a CD placed over the bell of the instrument. We can hear similar ideas in the percussion part. The vibraphone is normally a fixed pitch instrument whose set wooden bars prevent the kind of flexibility of pitch that you normally get on a trumpet. But here the vibraphone is extended. Tuned bars provide notes that sit between the tuning of the standard notes on the vibraphone, whereas gongs dipped in baths and bottles of water allow the player to bend notes. Throughout this extended vibraphone's part, we hear complex layers of sound, in which the brittle and resonant aspects of the instrument's sound are explored. In this passage, the mixture of stick types and instruments creates the kind of translucent layers I earlier compared to ocean currents. The two players interact in complex ways across the piece as they journey through their shared sonorities. My favourite moments are where they impossibly combine two radically different instruments sharing a single hybrid sound, like this moment from the middle of the piece. There's so much more to hear in these pieces, so I do hope you come and join us on the 4th of February at Rich Mix. I have found the most enjoyable way to hear them is to let my attention move through the layers, allowing them to flicker from one idea to the other. I'll leave you now with this passage from Invisibility, played by cellist Séverine Ballon.